Should we do a Sam Heughan challenge? How about you and I text him at the same time and see who he responds to first?
It's a great idea.
Should we do it?
What? Yeah.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
I'm Josh Horowitz, and today on Happy, Sad, Confused, Richard Rankin is here. No Sam, no Katrina, no Sophie. Finally, I've got him all to myself. My master plan has finally come true. The new batch of Outlander episodes is upon us, as well as Richard's new series, REBUS. There is a ton to talk about. Finally, center stage where he belongs. It's Richard Rankin. How are you, man?
Long. Thank you so much. What an intro, Josh. I was going to lead with that, actually. I was going to lead with the fact that finally I've got you to myself.
Right.
As much as I love my co-stars, this has been the plan. This has been the game plan all along. It's like, how do I get to a position in my career where I can have Josh Horowitz to myself?
You've truly made it.
This is when you know. This is when you know, right? This is the game.
This is it. This is every actor knows they've made it when they get on Happy, Sad, Confused by themselves. No, look, the last time I saw you, of course, yes, you were flanked by your buddies. We actually haven't run our game shenanigans yet, but that's to come.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh, it's fun. It's good fun.
I'm surprised you came back after that. I feel like I was roasting you a little bit, but you always come back for more.
Hey, it's all fun. It's all fun.
So you were about to do the Comic-Con stuff. What is that like for you at this point? Is there safety in numbers? Because that stuff is intimidating from my perspective, hosting that stuff. I can imagine being on a stage. There's a lot of love in the air, but it's also I don't know, it's just a lot. Is it comfortable at this point in your career to do that kind of thing?
I love it.
Yeah.
I genuinely love it. And yeah, there's safety in numbers in terms of, I think, having your peers, your co-stars around. But at the same time, sometimes it's nice to be, running solo. Interviews, I think, can be a bit more fun when you're doing a bit of that. There's a lot of press around that, right? You're usually on when you're doing something like New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con, as you know, because you're there pretty much all the time yourself. But there's a large amount of press, and having people to bounce off of and have a laugh with, and you know that I'm prone to having a bit of a laugh myself. It's you can have a good time, right? And I am actually, I'm a massive geek myself anyway, so I just geek out at Comic Cons. I had a great time at New York Comic Con. Me and John Bell from the show from Outlander. Yep. Any opportunity that we had that they could take, we were on that floor running around. But we only ever had windows of like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So we really try and take everything in as quickly as we could before running back to where we had to be. But no, I enjoy it. And it's great, we were on the Outlander panel at New York Comic Con. We more than filled their largest base for it. Yeah. So I think it's good to have that sort of kind of tangible feedback where you can actually see and interact with those people that support the shows that keep you going, and you kind of get a gauge of where you are and how much people are still invested in the work that you do. It's great.
I've certainly been in those rooms where it's not necessarily full, so it's you never know, and the sustained enthusiasm is remarkable. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Before we get into your solo career, should we do a Sam Heughan challenge? How about you and I text him at the same time and see who he responds to first?
It's a great idea.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
All right.
I did this the other day with a mutual friend where we sent code. So we each sent a line of a sentence and he had to work out what the hell we were talking about. But he's not going to put us together. He's going to be like, what is going on here?
Here's the question.
What's the format?
Format? Should we do the same thing? I mean, we could do something where we both say, "Do you miss me?" and just ... Let's do that. Do you want to do that at the same time?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, hold on. We have to do it simultaneously.
Is there any like distinguishing character here? We're putting in some kind of emoji. Put in a fan. He loves a fan on set. Literally put in a fan emoji.
Okay. I'm going to do that.
One. Have you got it?
I got it. All right. I'm going to hit send at the same time. You ready? 3, 2, 1. We'll do it then. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right. Pressure's on. Sam Heughan finally proved who you love more. All right.
I bet you it's huge. Although he's actually just messaged me and I haven't yet replied to it, so I won't show you what it says.
Okay,
but
we get it. We get it. Okay. Okay. So before we'll keep an eye on that, but I want to talk about another mutual. I recently had on the podcast, as you know, Jack Lowden, and you
yes.
came up, and I'm curious. Let's talk a little bit about the crew of actors you came up with. Was he part of that kind of gang of young men that you kind of associate your early days of acting with?
Yeah, very much so. And it's because that was a very much an informative part of my career doing that play, Black Watch. It was it was a big turning point for me for a number of reasons. It was a huge experience, for one, being on stage and spending that amount of time on stage. We were on a huge world tour. There was a huge learning curve there for me. It was the biggest play I had done at that point in my career, and I got a lot from it. And there was a bunch of us that are essentially contemporaries that are Black Watch alumni that are now at different points in our career and doing really great work and working with great people. And there's people like Jack, obviously, who is just flying at the moment. And yeah, I think there's this sort of unspoken sort of connection that we all still have, where we're kind of somehow kind of tethered loosely to each other, where we sort of kind of keeping tabs on each other's careers and how we're getting on. But I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Jack. He's just I love how much he loves it. I love how much he loves the game. He is just so he has such an incredible passion for every part of the industry, for every side of the industry. And he's also a big supporter of those people coming through and coming into the industry as well. Yeah. But he lives, breathes, and eats it, and it's I have a lot of admiration and a lot of respect for that.
Is there anybody else in that crew I would know? He mentioned, I don't know if this actor was in the group or he was just a fan or knew him, but Tom Guncarney, was he somebody that was in your kind of periphery or no? Or
no, Tom Guncarney's not mine. No, he wasn't in our show, but he's another one of a kind of a similar age group and a sort of a similar, I suppose, part of his career.
Did he also mentioned to me when we were talking about you how much he's enjoyed you, forgive the term, turning into a hunk, and how amused he's been by the metamorphosis of you. What's your vantage point on the dawning of the hunky era of Richard Rankin?
I don't know what the dawning of the hunky era is. I don't know when that started or when that became a thing. I did laugh when I was listening to the podcast that you did with Jack, and the fact that he also found it amusing or he found it funny.
There's that. It's like, why is it funny? Wait, what's
funny about it? I don't know.
Natural.
And then I was sort of having a moment of self-reflection, thinking, haven't I always been? Wasn't I always a hunk? But no, I wasn't. I think.
What were the roles you were like? Were you typecast early on? Like, what kind of stuff were you up for in your first days as an actor?
I don't know. I'd done quite a lot of theatre before I started doing television, and those were kind of relatively diverse roles, I think. But coming through, ironically, as you know, we're about to talk about Rebus. I've played a few cops. I've played a few detectives.
Yeah,
which is not something I would necessarily pigeonhole myself as having a strong point for. I like to keep a bit of variety. I like to keep those tools sharpened in terms of my my craft and what I can do. And I think constantly challenging yourself is important, and keeping those doors open to more sort of to a variety of parts is important, unless you want to end up doing a similar or the same thing for a large part of your career, which I don't want to do.
Well, that gives
I've tried not to do that, but
it gives a good segue. You mentioned Rebus. So this is this great new show. I watched the first couple of episodes. This is something that's already debuted outside of the US, and it's now coming to the United States. 6 episodes. This is a beloved character. It's been played before, but in a different kind of incarnations. Thankfully you're younger. You're a younger Rebus. That's always a good thing. Talk to me a little bit about.
I say hunkier.
Obviously, well, that goes without saying. It just is what it is. I can imagine there are a bunch of interesting selling points, exciting aspects of this. What front and center got you excited about this one?
A lot of things. Like I say, I couldn't have imagined playing, another a detective or cop role. I didn't see it in my future when Rebus came about. But also, when I got the call from my agent to discuss it, I didn't think she was talking about Rebus. I didn't think she was talking about the titular role. I thought she was talking about kind of a cameo, guest starring role,
Right.
playing villain or this season's bad guy who, gets blown up at the end of the season or something. I didn't think it was going to be Rebus. So I had the whole conversation, about meeting with the director and the writer Gregory Burke, before asking the question. By the way, what is it? Who is it that they want to see me for? And they said Rebus. And
They're like, are you an idiot? You're Rebus.
well, I couldn't have imagined a world where I'd played that part, because I think at that point in my head I had a very specific idea of Rebus, and being Scottish,
Yep.
everyone's aware of it. Everyone's seen it. It was huge when it was on. I think it was like maybe 13, 14 years ago. Ken Stott played it last. He was an incredible Scottish actor. And I suppose I'd maybe had the idea of that kind of version of Rebus kind of in my head. So I had never entertained the notion. It had never even crossed my mind fleetingly that might ever be a thing. Obviously, once I'd sort of got into it and started chatting with the director and the writer and getting an idea of what their approach was going to be to it, and I thought, no, I can bring something to this, I think. So initially, it was the script that got me. The first 10 pages, you've seen the first couple of episodes, so you've seen that opening sequence with the ambulance and with what turns out to be the sort of villain of this series. And cinematically, the aesthetic that the director pitched to me was very important, because the style that he was talking about, shooting in this very gritty sort of kind of in the actor's face, really getting inside the heads of the actors. You can see every thought or lack of it sometimes. Sometimes there could be more thinking happening, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There was a style that allowed us the opportunity to really to really serve up a very fresh and original version of this show. And character-wise, that did a lot for me, that opening sequence. I thought it just really sets me up in a really great place where I can see, where I can take that character further down the road as we proceed through the series. And I just thought it could be something new, something exciting, a really fresh and importantly an original version of something that we've already seen before. And I thought this was a very fresh take on that. So just everything about it just seemed to work, from the director's idea, his aesthetic, the cinematography of it, the writer, Gary Burke, who I worked with. He actually wrote Black Watch, which is the show that Jack and I have referred to a couple of times. So I knew him as a writer. I know his work. I've got a lot of love and respect for his work. And I thought, if anyone can adapt Sir Ian Rankin's novels, which in themselves are brilliantly written, then it's this guy. And I think I can bring a lot to that. And hopefully that's what happened.
Well, yeah, you allude to some differences that people might not expect going to something like this, because, we were all raised, I was certainly raised on 1,000 procedural cop shows and kind of like, the case of the week kind of thing, which is fine. And those, like, I have a lot of affection for those, but this is as much, this is juicy character stuff. This is like real character study stuff. And you allude to the aesthetic. This is shot obviously on location in Scotland, and you can't buy that kind of true production value that comes through. Is that special to work back home for a character that's so special back where you're from? Does that feel like a special kind of resonance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Edinburgh plays a big part in it. That's a huge character in the shows. It should be. I mean, Rebus is a very sort of Edinburgh-based story, even though the character himself is from Fife, which is just kind of north of the city, across the water. I think we were very lucky to have had the opportunity to shoot in the locations that we did. We shot up on the Mound. We shot up around Edinburgh Castle. Edinburgh features very much as a really beautiful backdrop to a lot of this sometimes quite dark drama. But you talk about it being sort of a character exploration, a character study, and I think it is that, and that was a large part of what was important for me coming into this, is that it wasn't. And Gregory Burke himself insisted that it shouldn't be a typical sort of procedural crime drama, which, I've got nothing against procedural crime. It's a hugely successful genre. There's a sort of insatiable appetite for that. People gobble it up,
Yeah.
in huge.
Yeah, it's comfort food. It's easy to watch and digest, and you can watch.
Love it. And for some people, that's all they'll watch. They'll have half a dozen on the go, right? At any one time. They just love it. They breathe it. But I don't think Rebus is that. In fact, if you continue to watch it, which you should, Josh, you'll see that there isn't really much of a procedural element going on. We're not in the office in front of a whiteboard scribbling down the names of potential suspects, witnesses, blah blah blah, with little post-its and Polaroids of evidence going up. There isn't really much of that. We're not all standing around a body, just half a dozen of us discussing what may or may not have happened. Like, there's maybe a couple of moments where it kind of falls into that, but it largely stays away from it, and we are with the characters and their journey through these situations and what it means to them, how it affects them. And it's kind of less of a whodunit, although we do have that kind of element in it, but it's not the driving force of the show.
Yeah.
Which for me was, I think, something it was quite refreshing. It was good to be able to join that and really sort of, I think, check in with myself, because I was given the opportunity where I suppose the potential for my performance wasn't in any way really limited. I felt I had such a great cast around me. They were all incredible, every single one of them. Mostly every single one of them. So I felt that, I could go as far as I wanted with that in terms of bringing the integrity of my work and what I am as an actor to that. I think all those things were just kind of fell into place for me at the right time as well, when I was kind of looking to sort of reestablish myself with myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine, again, as you see like Outlander, kind of like this transition point, this is a key point to kind of like show off what else you can do and find something else that's artistically rewarding in a different way. So it's exciting you found this. A couple questions, as you can imagine, from some of Happy, Sad, Confused listeners and watchers for you. Gail wants to know, did you watch the 2000 Rebus series at all to research this? Or is that the worst thing to do, to watch someone else's interpretation of Rebus?
In my opinion, it's not helpful. I don't see what you would be looking to achieve by doing that. Maybe looking to copy or mimic someone else's performance.
Yeah.
If you have a particular lack of kind of self-creativity, I don't know. It wouldn't have done me any good. I actually did watch the 2010. Is that what it was? 2010?
This one says 2000. So I don't know if there have been written a couple different ones. I don't know. Yeah. This is according to Gail's research. I don't know.
Oh, well, maybe it's much longer than I thought it was. Yes, I did watch that. I watched both John Hannah's and Ken Stott's. I think you just did, if you lived in Scotland, you watched Taggart. I don't know if you're familiar with Taggart. That's the West Coast version, essentially, and you had Rebus, which was the East Coast version.
Right.
So I remember watching it at the time. Yeah, it was quite popular at the time, and no, I didn't think it was going to do me any good to go back and watch them, because you want to come up with your own thing. It's I think it's nice to have a kind of a nod to the thing that was, but I don't think there's any point in going back and looking at someone else's performance, because I had the books for research and I had the scripts, and all I had to do was, marry the two of them in a way that worked for me, that was still going to be, you know, an honest portrayal of this character and you know, my sort of idea of it. I think that's important.
So here's one that's inevitable. This is a good question to hear because this means they want more. Elizabeth wants to know, says that she binged it already in one sitting. Are you guys doing season 2? She says, I haven't seen the last episode. She says it's left on a cliffhanger. So more to come.
Well, there's a bit of a cliffhanger, so you know, it's been left in a place that we can certainly continue the story. That's the idea. I'd love to do more.
Yeah.
I won't be around the bush, be all you know,
Cagey.
mysterious about it.
Maybe.
Mysterious and cagey about it. I'd love to do more. Give me some more of that, and I'll throw another season of that out. Yeah.
It's been very well received. I saw that the reviews have been great. I don't know if you're the kind of actor that checks out reviews, if you can resist it, if that's helpful or horrible for your brain. Like, do you access the reviews? Do you read your own reviews or no?
I hate reviews. I hate reading reviews. It's like it's a funny thing. It's an age-old thing of actors and reviews and whether they're helpful or whether they're not or whether they're just downright damaging. The truth about a review is you can, and this is also an age-old analogy. It's like you can read 99 great reviews, brilliant reviews that you're on top of the world, and you read that one where some shitheads decided to tear you apart for no apparent reason other than to be contrary, or maybe it is their opinion. So maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe that was their opinion at the time, and fair enough. You're once entitled to one, but that's the one you'll remember and the one that you'll play over and over and over again, and you'll start to think, what could I have done differently to overturn this one person's opinion? Why didn't they like it? What's wrong with me?
Let me reach out to them. Maybe I can convince them.
You know, it's just to sort of be kind of emphatic about the scenario. But it's a funny thing. Reviews are a funny thing. And I don't think there is... Are they as necessary as they used to be? Reviews used to be a good way to sort of get an idea of whether or not you were going to like something, or whether or not something was being received sort of generally well enough for you to, you know, to spark your own interest. But we have so many platforms on social media and on the internet now. There's things that are kind of reviewed or sort of gauged by the general public, the people the punters who are actually going to watch things. And their reviews generally don't marry up with the critic reviews. I've noticed they generally tend to be a bit of a disparity between the two. But to go back to your original question after this rant about critics, all of the reviews have been pretty much great. But these are reviews. What I do is I won't go looking for reviews because I will find those negative ones, and they will kind of drag me down a little bit. People tend to send me the really good ones, especially our team on Rebus, you know, because it is, you know, it's important to them how well it is received and how well we're doing, obviously. So they'll send me all the ones that are generally favourable. And I'm gonna
try to find one negative one, and I'll be the one to send it to you if that's okay. Can I be that guy?
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, you can be that guy. Yeah, because I know that you'll take some pleasure in that. Thanks, Josh.
I'm gonna take you down a peg.
You, man.
I want you to know you're in good company. No less than I interviewed Olivia Colman a bunch of months back, and we were talking about reviews, and she gets so enraged by bad reviews. Olivia Colman, who's like the best of the best, talked about literally very seriously considering sending fake poo to a critic because she was so upset with a bad review.
Yes, I listened to that one. That was great. Yeah.
Amazing.
I won't go that far. Unless you're the one sending, you're writing the reviews. Then
no, I'm gonna bring it.
To send you something in the mail.
I'll look forward to that. So speaking of famous, important Scottish characters, I've heard you talk about, and you've actually been in at least one production of Macbeth. And I was surprised to hear what you talk about that one of the productions, and you called it Macbeth. You didn't call it the Scottish play. Are you not superstitious?
I'm superstitious enough. I think I forgot about the superstition.
That's like the superstition. That's like the theater superstition.
I know. There's a kind of an antidote sort of rhyme to it, isn't there? But I forget what it is. It's in Blackadder. I'm pretty sure that it was made up. But yeah, no, not many people are going around calling it the Scottish play anymore.
So I'm
not going to say it now because it seems like I'm being tempted into some sort of fake trap that's going to ruin my career. because it will then be documented. I haven't said, have I said it?
No, I don't think you said it yet today.
Recording. I haven't said it today.
So, have you played the titular character? We won't say the name of that character. Have you played the M guy yet in production? Is that still an aspiration?
The M guy yet? No, I haven't played the M guy yet. James McArdle played the M guy in that version of the play with Saoirse Ronan as Lady M, or Susan Macbeth, as we called her, because we realised that none of these characters had first names.
Right, Lady Macbeth. Well, see, I'm saying it. I'm just. They can't curse me enough.
Well,
I'm just.
It's out now. It's out. It's out.
All right, let's talk a little bit Outlander. Since I saw you, I know it's done now, because even like when you guys were at Comic-Con, I think some of you, maybe you did as well, maybe everybody went back for a little bit of reshoots. Did you go back? Did you have a little more to do after Comic-Con?
Yeah, I did a little bit more, which was funny. It was a weird time. It was a very strange time. We've been on the show such a long time now. I think I've been 9 years on the show or something. Sam, Katrina essentially started in development maybe like 11 years ago, right? So around about a decade, we've all been involved in this show. And just through necessity, the way that it ended is you've got, you finish on your main unit on your doing your main sort of scenes and whatever,
right?
And then there'll inevitably be some second unit stuff as you're wrapping up, which is just generally picking things up, or shots that they've missed the previous week or whatever. And then we had reshoots after Comic-Con. So essentially, I was wrapped on the show 3 times, and there was kind of diminishing returns each time we wrapped, so it felt less and less ceremonial, for lack of a better word. Not anticlimactic. There was just something very weird. We were all in a strange emotional state because we're all finishing this thing that we've been on forever with people that we have come to be essentially, our extended families. So yeah, the process of finishing the show just, became a bit endless in itself.
And not to mention, it's going to go on for a year and a half, however long it takes before it comes out.
Exactly. We've got the second half of season 7 coming out this month, actually. And then we have season 8 coming out, at a later date.
So what was there an emotional, like, what was the cathartic moment of those many goodbyes? Was there one where you got the most emotional?
Do you know what? I thought I was okay, Josh. I thought I was all right, and everyone did, I think. But I think the closer we got to it, the more we were sort of taken unawares by whatever it was. That sense of maybe grief, maybe loss, maybe the fact that there would be this thing that had taken up such a huge part of our lives, and it was about to not be there anymore. So there was going to be this void, this emptiness, right? That was going to be there, and it was. So I remember the moment it sort of all came, it's kind of came over me was when I was finishing. I can't even describe the scene, so I can't even give you the entire context. So we can remind me to go into this in more detail.
Okay. Broad strokes, and then we'll go back to it. Yes.
But it was a scene which was kind of reminiscent of one of the first scenes that I shot at the end of season 2, with Sophie, who's been my television partner for, the length of most marriages these days, probably more.
More, yeah.
And I was stood there, and I remember standing there in the scene, being able to think of nothing else but those first days on the show. And then from that, sort of reflecting on all of these wonderful moments that we'd had throughout the years, as I was standing there in a scene where I had to be quite reflective of the thing before me and what was going on. So it kind of worked for the context of the scene, but it was quite distracting at the same time because I was probably getting overly emotional about it. And everything just seemed to be this sort of full circle, because it was just so reminiscent of where I started. And in that, you sort of condense these memories, don't you? And it feels like 9 years was nothing.
Right.
Because you sort of, I don't know, you sort of contract those memories in your head when you're thinking about something in sort of isolation that way. And it was like, wait, hang on, how are we? How is it 2024? How are we 10 years into the show? How are we finishing season 8? So I don't know. I think there were a lot of sort of overwhelming thoughts and feelings which came out unwelcomed as well. They weren't supposed to be there. I was like, no, I'm fine. Totally stoic. Hard as a rock. It's like
you were just getting emotional knowing,
I'll
wait, does this mean Josh and I aren't going to talk anymore? Is that what that means? But now we know. No.
I think that's what it was. It's like, oh, that was my one in.
A couple more questions from the fans. Jerry wants to know, is there any other plot line from Outlander or experience that you would have liked to have included that you never got to? Is there any stone that was left unturned for Roger?
There's a few. There's a few. I sort of condemned myself quite early on by reading the books, which was very helpful and very unhelpful all at the same time, because I found it a very useful resource. 'Cause it's not something you always have going into a show. There's a series of books on which to give yourself an idea of the character and the world that you're about to step into. And it was really good for the character sort of development early doors as well, because I got a really good idea of what Roger was about. But you inevitably also come across quite a lot of scenes that you get really excited about and are really looking forward to shooting, and you get a very set idea of how you think that's going to go down. And either it doesn't happen at all, sometimes, not always, it doesn't happen at all, or it happens in a very different way, and it's quite jarring with you because you're like, oh, I thought it was going to happen like this.
Right.
But you know, it's an adaptation of a very large series of very large books, so we can't all have all of the things in there that we like and that we love. But so you just have to sort of get on with it. And
is there one you ever advocated for strongly? Like, can't we? Is it too late to get this in there?
So there's a few. So there was one. If I'm remembering it correctly, it was when Roger proposes, or certainly has the idea of marrying Brianna for the first time, and they're walking along the River Ness in Inverness, and there's a scene in a church which is just by the banks of the River Ness, and it's there that he sees himself marrying her, and I think it's there at Christmas Eve, I think, if I'm remembering. I might have this slightly wrong. It was a few years ago I read it, and he proposes to her in a very wintry sort of feeling Inverness in the 60s. And I thought the way it was written was really sweet, really romantic. There was quite a lot of stuff which I had been looking forward to shooting on in season 4. There's a whole voyage, a whole transatlantic voyage in the 18th century with Roger, and he comes across the villainous Stephen Bonnet. Yeah, there was a lot of that story which I was sort of hoping that we would shoot, and that we didn't manage to shoot. There wasn't quite the space to get it in there. And I sort of had a bit of a longing to have just explored some of that stuff, because it did a lot for the character, and it did a lot for the story, and a lot for Stephen Bonnet as well, who I thought was just brilliantly played by Ed Spilliers. But you know, you can't have, when, like I said, when you're referencing books, it's a bittersweet thing, because you can't have it all.
You know, it's not all going to make it. Yeah, it's just literally impossible. Well, we can do our fanfic. We can do our own run and gun version. I've got time on my hands if you want to. You and Sophie. We'll just redo it. We'll just redo it.
Just redo scenes and
Outlander Redux, like the Rankin Horowitz tapes.
Yeah, like...
Coming soon. The time's flying by, but I want to talk a little bit. I'm curious, just like I was reading a bit about your background. We talked a little bit about the actors you kind of came of age with in the theater, but even before that, you were, as I take it, a little bit of a late bloomer coming to acting. One thing that caught my eye on Trusty, was either Wikipedia or IMDb, is it said that a chance, it sounds very dramatic, a chance at the Roosevelt Hotel in LA during a holiday changed your life. Now I'm curious about this because I had a very pivotal moment in my career at the Roosevelt Hotel. But is that true? Did you have some kind of like Warren Bacall? They spotted you at the Roosevelt Hotel moment, or what happened there?
Kind of.
Yeah.
That's written quite eloquently. That's not a quote, is it? Someone wrote that.
It's in, yeah, like I said, it's either in Wiki or IMDb. Yeah, it's a chance
Oh, right. Okay.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose it was probably a number of things, so I can't put it down to maybe it was that one sort of pivotal moment. I had gone to the States for the first time in my early 20s, 20, I think I was. And I'd always been a quite a creative sort ever since growing up. And I'd always had to have some sort of creative outlet, whether it was music or writing or singing or guitar or whatever. I was going to be an author for the longest time. And yeah, I'd ended up falling into IT, not falling into, it's a great sort of love of mine, computers and tech and all the rest of it. So I had imagined that that would be my career. And I had gone off to America for the first time. I went on one of these sort of package holidays to Vegas for 3 or 4 days and then on to LA for another 3 or 4 days and found ourselves, my ex-girlfriend and I, at having dinner at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it was dead. There was no one there except this cast, and I can't remember exactly because I didn't know these people at the time, and I think it was the cast of like the OC or something like that. And I got speaking to the one of their producers had asked us to join them because it was us sat at a table of two, and then the rest of them sat at this big table in the restaurant. We joined them. We had a drink. We were just chatting and sort of sharing stories as you do. And the producer was chatting to me. He's like, "Yeah, have you ever thought about being an actor?" And I thought that's such an odd question to ask someone who's not an actor.
Yeah.
Or has no involvement in the industry. And maybe it was the question itself that kind of stuck in my head. It was a question that I repeatedly asked myself after we left. But I was like, no. He says, you kind of have a look, you have kind of have a way about you. I don't know, I suppose a certain sort of charisma. And I was like, where are you? What is your angle here? You look well suited to be one. And I thought, seems like such a bizarre thing to say to someone. But anyway, I remember on the way home, I think this sort of a seed had been planted and I kept thinking about it. And I don't know why I kept thinking about it. But the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I thought, I could do it. I think I could do that. I think I could probably give it a go. But I'd also been been quite heavily influenced by things like Universal Studios and whatnot, like The Next Day, right? And all of the backlot stuff and all of the, the sort of grandeur of the film industry as it's presented at like Universal Studios and on the Hollywood Walk and all that sort of thing. And I think, to pardon the cliche, I think I kind of caught a bit of a bug.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how. But I came home and I thought, well, I don't even know if I can act. So I'm gonna have to find out if I have even any sort of capacity for it. And I asked my brother at the time, not my brother at the time, he's still my brother. But I asked at that time, I asked my brother what he was doing after the summer and if he fancied auditioning for drama school. And he came to the same conclusion as me. He was like, we don't even know if we can act. And I was like, I bet we can. So we got a book, a novel, right? Prose. From this is how much we knew at the time, right?
Yeah.
We got a book. I even remember what it was. It was like John Grisham or Jeffrey Archer or something, right? Or Frederick Forsyth, one of my dad's novels off the bookshelf. And we started reading some scenes from that. Ridiculous. But from that, we decided that we had what it takes. And later auditioned for drama school, got in at the same year. And I want to say the rest is history, but that sounds ridiculous. But it kind of was. And I actually started to really, really fall in love with this whole business of ours and everything that it involves. It's been a funny wee journey since then.
Yeah. Another reason to love the OC. Let's go with the OC. That makes for a good story. I like that.
Let's say that. Something tells, let's just say that it is. I wasn't really paying attention, Josh. That is such a potentially interesting story, and I cannot remember the details.
I
I'm
think you should.
tempted to just make it up because
Oh,
so that we can
100%. You need to clean that up. This is kind of like the starting point for your Tonight Show appearance. Like clean it up by then. When you're on Jimmy Fallon, it was definitely the OC for the record, and
But
Ben
I've thought about
McKenzie.
cleaning it up,
Yeah,
and then I thought someone's going to remember that day, and they're going to go, "It wasn't that at all. It wasn't even one in the business. It was just a random lawyer and his friends."
I don't care if it's true or not. I like the story. What can I secret into the universe for you, my friend? You're not wanting for opportunity. Obviously, Rebus is a great one coming off of Outlander. You haven't worked that much in my beloved states. You here and there, tiny bits and bobs. Is that important to you? Is there? Can I put in a good word with Vin Diesel or somebody with a franchise? What do you want?
There's no harm in you putting in a good word with all of them, Josh. That'd be lovely. No, I have no particular, I have no overwhelming desire to work in the States. I don't not want to work there,
Yeah.
but I would just like to do good work with good people, and I'll be happy. It doesn't really
What
matter where it is. Although a lot of American stuff seems to be filming over in Europe now.
That's true. What about from the geek standpoint? You talked about kind of being that secret, not so secret geek at Comic-Con. What's your
All right, okay, so I definitely want to be like in Marvel, right, Josh? If you can get me in there, right? If there's a reboot of Wolverine, then I'll hit the gym a few times a day, right? Or in fact, just that. Or Wolverine or Tony Stark, right? A younger, but not even that much younger Tony Stark. I'll go with that.
Have you ever had those kind of meetings, auditions for that kind of a role?
Not Marvel.
Not Marvel.
Yeah. I've always thought about it though. I've always wondered how would because it's like you have to sort of marry up a sort of an honesty, a sort of a believability in a really quite an otherworldly character if you're talking about Marvel superheroes.
Yeah.
So you need to have that sort of storytelling combined with some sort of truth. And I've always wondered how would I do that? How would I go into the room? How would I go into a room and be Superman? Like I quite like to be a fly on the wall. I'm sure with enough sort of research and rehearsal, not research, but enough rehearsal and enough practice, you'd come up with something that you could present in the room. I'm sure, but I'd like to be a fly on the wall in some of these auditions where people are auditioning for these big superhero or fantasy things where they have to be something literally otherworldly. Like did Josh, I don't know if Josh Brolin ever had to audition, but Thanos, the world, like how's he auditioning for that?
But you must have had some absurd auditions where you had to like hold the fake gun or put on some silly costume
yeah. You have auditions where you have to sort of imagine props or set here and there. It's usually not too much. You're not usually having to imagine you're fighting Hulk, right?
Right.
Being Hulk. These things I imagine would be kind of funny. Like, could you take it seriously in an audition room? Could you take it seriously? Like, you could have the guy and he's doing the best version of the job. He's giving you his best Thor, right? But he is still standing there swinging a piece of string in the middle of the audition room, right? And pretending to fly off to Asgard. Like how do you do that?
That takes talent, yeah. Sell me on Wolverine. Call me Bub. Be menacing. Come on, you can do it.
Call you Bub?
Yeah.
Is that the line?
Yeah, he's hey Bub.
Hey Bub.
Never mind. We'll cut that. I want you to get the role. I don't want them to see that.
Yeah, let's not put that forward to Marvel. I think I got a reply from right. I got a reply from Sam. Did you?
I'm gonna kill him. What? I did. What time did yours come in?
Mine came in at 1 minute past 7 minutes past 5, so 7 minutes past 12 your time, I think.
I got mine at 8 minutes past.
Oh.
Can you say what yours?
He replied to me, no. So I said, do you miss me? And he says, no, I just want to make sure I can work out in peace.
he wrote to me, I said, do you miss me? And he said, I see Russia has taken over your account too.
Oh, brilliant. That's great.
Well, you win by a minute. Sam Heughan loves Richard Rankin more. It's definitive. I'll never forgive him.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear about that.
I think that's a perfect note to end upon. Congratulations, buddy, on new batch of Outlander, but more importantly, we're getting to see new sides of Richard in this fantastic new show, Rebus. I want to tell folks how they can actually see it because that's important. The Viaplay streaming service is available as an add-on subscription via Amazon Prime Video channels, as well as Roku, Comcast, Sling, all those fun things. Just look it up. How to watch Rebus. You'll figure it out, guys. I trust you. Or we have Richard as our IT consultant. I'm sure he can help you out.
Yeah, which is what I'm about to do now, right? You had a problem with your printer.
Yeah. If you could clear my cache for me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, get right on that.
No, truly, buddy. It's always good to see you, and I'm glad we had a chance to have this this fun one-on-one time.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.